Hello on the rockers, gird your loins. On this episode, we continue our Drag is Not a Crime theme with drag superstar Jackie Beat. And yes, drag is not a crime, just the way she dresses maybe. I didn't write that one, I just have to tell you that. As we talk about the evolution of drag, her career, her TV shows, and more, with my guest co-host, removing the stigma from sex work, adult performer Derek Kage, and thankfully, not a drag queen or an adult performer, me, your favorite host with the sassy most. Raise a glass and let the drinks begin. It's On the Rocks with sass and ass.
Thank you for being
Boulevard.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Well, listen to that applause. Buttons and bows and pantyhose. On the Rocks podcast, a place where we're too glam to give a damn. Real fast, want to hang out with On the Rocks on the road? Behind the Golden Curtain, May 26th to the 28th, I will be in the Bay Area. Golden Girls fans, this is for you. It's a Lollapalooza of Golden Girls everything. There will be Golden Girls performances, more importantly, chatbacks and meet and greets with literally almost every person who is still alive from the show. I'm talking about the writers, the directors, the producers, the production team, and guest stars that were on your favorite episodes, like Big Daddy's daughter, the girl who lived next door who got pregnant. All of these one guest stars are going to be there. I'm really excited. On the Rocks will be doing an afternoon on the Lanai, a fun Q&A with season 1 writer Stan Zimmerman with a clip show, a sing-along, and fan trivia. And afterwards, we're going to go to Castro. Go to Orinda Theater, that's O-R-I-N-D-A, theater with an R-E.com for more info. Also, we are taking over San Diego County Fair for Out at the Fair, June 10th, and I will be your MC for the drag show. Out at the Fair is pretty much gay days at the Country Fair, which you know is a little dicey lately. So help us, come support us. They're giving away free tickets at outatthefair.com. We'll see you there. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok, fuck Twitter, at On The Rocks On Air, and on Facebook, On The Rocks Radio Show. Send me an email. Book me for a pride, wedding, funeral, quinceañera, bris. I don't care. I will be there. Info at ontherocksradioshow.com. This was presented by Straw Hut Media. You can watch and or listen to our now over 300 episodes at ontherocksradioshow.com. You can watch us on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV at the Outat.tv app, Facebook Watch, streaming with Pride on SVTV, and on Channel 31 on the East Coast. You lucky East Coast. All right, let's get the show on the road. Please welcome my co-pilot today with a voice that will melt your panties, Derek Kage, the deep voice, Southern gentleman in the streets, and an absolute beast in the sheets. Born and raised in Huntsville, Alabama. We're going to ask him what happened to his accent. An educated man, followed his master's degree in political science to the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. COVID took him to the wide open spaces and mountains of Utah, don't ask me why, in 2020, where he built his OnlyFans platform. He began doing studio work in 2022 and has become a very popular and award-nominated personality. He's entirely committed to ending all stigma surrounding sex work and sex workers, including recently taking on the stigma of gay porn performers branching out into the straight, bi, and trans studios. We got a few questions about that. He specifically supports the rights of LGBTQ sex workers in the overall community. He's also a patron member of the Free Speech Coalition and actively supports the legal rights of sex workers. He, when he's not working on any one of his professional projects or activism, which he's always working, by the way, he is traveling. He has said he would go broke just to travel. Please welcome Derek Kage.
Hello.
Okay, listen to that voice compared to mine. Say hello again.
Hello.
You guys, and that's literally his real voice. That's not even an affect, whatever. Like, we'll go to Del Taco at the drive-thru. We'll be like, I will have the crunch tata. I don't even know if they serve that at Del Taco. You probably don't even eat Del Taco.
Not lately. Not if I have to. Not if I'm performing.
Well, that makes one of us. Okay. I could perform on a crunch tata.
I'll live vicariously through you.
Have you always had this deep voice? Or did you go through that awkward, like, Brady Bunch change where you're like,
well,
woo?
I certainly didn't have it as a baby, but, you know.
I imagine you were this baby like, Dada, mama.
No, but when I was 11, it changed in about the span of 6 months. So as
11?
an 11-year-old, I look like a child with this kind of voice. Freaked a lot of people out.
Did you ever sing, like, in the kids' choir or whatever, and they had no idea what to do with you?
No.
No.
No, I think they knew better than to put me in singing because I would have just like completely been on the opposite end of everybody else.
You would have been the end of every like barbershop quartet. Now, what did happen to your Alabama accent?
So if you can put the two words in the same sentence, I'm actually from the educated part of Alabama.
Don't believe it, fake news.
It's a place called Huntsville, Alabama. It's actually where NASA.
I've heard of Huntsville actually.
It's where NASA, Marshall Space Flight Center. We have literal rocket scientists in my hometown. So most of the people that live in Huntsville are not from there, and so all of my friends, everybody else, accent never. But I mean, I can turn it on if you want me to.
That's another fantasy I never thought of. And we've seen about every one of your fantasies. All right, real fast before we bring on the diva herself, there's this political attack on the LGBTQ community. A lot of people don't realize it's also coming from the government in terms of restrictions and new regulations towards the adult industry, from sites and social media platforms as well. Regulations literally left and right that's affecting the pockets of many adult performers. And it's all inspired from the government, from what's happening from the conservative. And I know part of what the adult community and what you were trying to do is take away the stigmas of sex work. Adult stars used to have this assumption that people got into porn are broken, on drugs, they're not smart, which I can tell you, and I know you know, from having friends in the industry, that is not the case.
Correct.
Unless it says, please use other door, and you think it's a whole other wing of the building.
Completely have erased my credibility.
You guys, Derek texted me. He's like, it said, please use other door. Is there another door? Yeah, the one right next to it that's open. Anyway, but you are a political science master's degree holder. But, and so this is kind of changing what the idea of porn is. Porn actually saved your life, literally.
It did.
Can you expand on that?
Yeah. I had just been, my husband had actually just left me because I had showed interest in doing porn. And so I was going through the depression of that. My 9-to-5 job, which was actually working for the Department of Defense, was awful. I hated every second of it. It was just, my life was miserable. And about a year ago, May 2022, I attempted suicide. And because I was exhausted, I had no genuine will to live. I was just like, this is, like, I was just over it. I was completely over it. And then I got my debut scene. And from there, it was actually a scene with Grant Ducati for Trailer Trash Boys. And Trenton Ducati saw me, and he saw me perform, and he was like, get him on another set. He is a star. Yeah. And from there, and here I am now. So it was actually the change from going into porn and actually pursuing this dream gave me pretty much, I know it's cliche, but the will to live.
I did not know that. I didn't know how bad the depression went. So thanks for bringing that up at the top of the show, by the way. Yeah. Jackie's gonna be like, what the hell? No, but honestly, like, all jokes aside, thank you for sharing that, because I can't imagine being that vulnerable towards life. I also can't imagine sharing that publicly. So thank you for that.
I'm very, very public about it. And also,
you're public about a few things. Let's keep that all in. Yeah.
But in the sense of, like, my life where I had done everything that society expected of me, got my master's degree. I have a professional
lived in
degree.
Washington D.C.
Washington D.C.
The American dream, literally.
Yeah. And had, got married, got all this. I did everything that was expected of me, and I was miserable. I hated every single second of it. And then when I got into something that was not expected, not socially acceptable, I am thriving, and I am living my best possible porn life.
And the people that are successful in the adult industry have to run the business as a business. You have to do the marketing. It takes somebody with a hustle that works hard, but that also is very intelligent. People just don't assume that porn stars have that quality. It's like, no, to be successful, especially nowadays, with all the competition, with social media, with all the fan site, you have to.
Yes.
You have to, well, thank you for sharing that. So removing the stigma, porn is not... It's not what the idea of, like, a porn star from I would say even 5 years ago. It's like, oh, God, if they're a porn star, it means that they're at the bottom. You were at the bottom, and now you're at the top. Yeah. Well, I've seen you top and bottom, so. Okay, we are going to talk about the drag and adult industry. Is everybody ready? I'm a little intimidated by our guest, I'll be honest. Even though I've met her face-to-face 6 times, she remembers -7 times. I want to introduce Jackie Beat. Even though her grinder age is just shy of 26 years old, she's been entertaining us for decades. International part of drag history. She is widely known for her biting wit and parodies of songs by Britney Spears, Cher, Madonna, and more that have streamed literally to the millions. And she can actually sing them live, by the way. These songs have been featured just about everywhere, including The Howard Stern Show, E! Entertainment, America's Top 40 with Ryan Seacrest, and emerging from the New York club scene, which I cannot wait to talk to, in the 80s, 1980s, not 1880s. I got that email. Her live performances continue to sell out around the nation, and her stand-up has ended up on Comedy Central, VH1, and MTV. Also, we're going to talk about this. She opened for Roseanne Barr. And if it's not stand-up, she's doing one of her one-woman shows or playing B. Arthur in the Golden Girls Live. And now, Who's the Boss live show that's returning in the fall, by the way, so look for that. As a card-carrying Writers Guild member, we're going to talk about that, by the way. She's written for just about every type of show for networks like Sci-Fi, E! And Comedy Central. And as the go-to comedy queen, she's written material for other queens like Ross Matthews, Margaret Cho, Rosie O'Donnell, Sandra Bernhard, Jennifer Coolidge, and even Elvira. And adding to TV writing, she's a playwright, screenwriter, and magazine columnist. Can she act? Well, we know she can act up, but yes, who can forget her performance in Ginger Dead Man 3? Saturday Night Cleaver. Like, you guys have to watch that. She's also appeared on many TV shows, including Sex and the City, and the most recent Huluween, and in movies that include Flawless. Rumor has it she called Robert De Niro Daddy. We're going to ask about that. And the festival darling Wigstock the movie. She will be featured in Hulu's upcoming Drag Me to Dinner with Sherry Vine. And now, after appearing on everybody else's projects, she just wrapped up season 2 of her own show on Out TV called... and you guys have to binge season 1, Dr. Jackie, Unlicensed Psychotherapist. And it features helping her famous friends, and I do mean famous, by the way, with life issues. The roster on her show includes some of your favorite personalities, and some personalities that are not your favorite. But everybody is crazy. Please welcome the legend, Jackie Beat.
Oh my God, did I die?
That was your eulogy, girl. It was like that episode of Succession.
That sounded just like a eulogy. I have a few things to say.
Yeah, I would love.
First of all, you say you met 6 times, but I've forgotten you 7 times. Let me guess, you were wearing jeans and a t-shirt, and I was dressed like a fucking gay pride parade float.
No, ma'am. We sat next to each other. No, ma'am. We sat next to each other one of the first times, and I was like, oh my God, Jackie Beat is sitting 2 people away from me, and we were with your friend Mindy. And you were not in drag. What?
My friend Muffy?
Muffy Bolding, yes. And we were watching...
Literally, Muffy has been texting me, how do I watch? I'm like,
God.
you have a husband and a son, fucking figure it out. I'm about to go on, bitch.
We sat next to... Literally, Muffy was between us, and you were not in drag. We were watching Carrie the Musical in Los Angeles.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But we've met, and I was also a guest on your show, Judge Jackie. I was one of yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Real
all.
stars don't remember.
Yeah. But first,
I also just wanted to say I'm so glad Derek is here, so we know people are actually watching. We understand how the world works.
But what you're saying is I'm wearing
porn star for gays to watch.
What you're saying is, though, you're going to forget all about me because I'm only wearing a jeans and a t-shirt.
No, I Googled you, and you weren't wearing jeans or a t-shirt in your pictures online. I will never forget.
Oh, thank God.
well, and you can't see these jeans from here, but they should be illegal. But it's funny because the world, drag has evolved and become more mainstream. So has the adult world, and drag's interactions, such as the music videos with drag queens, are now featuring a variety of personalities from the adult film world. But first of all, in all seriousness, we throw words around like
I gotta cut you off.
Yeah, please, it's your show.
I do know that drag has gone mainstream. I don't know if I would say it has evolved. I think in many ways it has devolved. So, I mean, I'm just saying that at one point before Drag Race, I was one of 7 queens. I'm not joking. Like, there was Lady Bunny, Sherry Vine, Joey Arias, me, Varla Jean Merman, Coco Peru.
Yep.
We all sang live, and not to throw lip syncers under the bus, but as an art form, yes, it is much more mainstream. Has it evolved? I don't know. To me, it seems a little more watered down. But
All
go
right.
ahead.
Well, no, I'm glad you did this because during the show, we're going to do a little thing called Jackie, Spill the Tea. And number 1 on that is, what is your take on the Drag Race phenomena? Too much, too commercial, is it about talent anymore? So that goes in with what we were saying.
So do we get to answer now?
Yes, yeah. Jackie,
for it.
spill the tea.
Absolutely. Listen, there are amazing people who have come from that show. Jinx Monsoon, Alaska Thunderfuck, Bianca Del Rio, Bob the Drag Queen, Monet. There are a lot of really funny, talented people. But I will say this, you can tell the difference between a queen who has honed her craft and perfected her art night after night after night in the clubs. They know how to deal with a heckler. They know how to deal with a drunk straight person. They know how to deal with things because they have worked night after night for years. It's the only way to become a good stand-up comedian. Like if you're cute for 10 seconds on TikTok, that's great. But when Netflix gives you your own fucking comedy special and people are like, what happened? So there are some great ones, but unfortunately, just look at the numbers. Like, of course, there's a lot of filler. And sometimes I watch and I'm like, really? They picked this person? This person has never left their apartment in drag. They've never done a show, and they are vying to be the next drag superstar. It's a reality show. That's all I'll say.
It's a reality it's a reality show first, and a lot of people forget that. But also, my idea, the drag queens that I grew up with could command an audience, no matter whether it was bingo at a senior citizen home, whether it was a crowd of drunk fools, whether it was P-Town for Pride. Drag queens knew how to sell. They could sing. They could make their own outfits. Now, everybody is styled, and it's all about money. What about the drag queens that are so talented that can't pay $5,000 for their first gown? What about them?
Now, listen, you're talking to a queen who can't do wigs. I cannot do outfits. To me, that's what, Venmo and PayPal are for. And I do have to say this right now. My pronouns are PayPal and Venmo. And if you don't respect that, you are clown phobic.
Do a plug right now.
Yeah, plug it.
Do a plug.
Yes, I can do my makeup. I write all my own material. I can sing. I don't expect everybody to do everything. Bianca Del Rio is one of my best friends, and I always throw her under the bus and ruin her street cred by, revealing that she's one of the most generous, sweetest people I've ever met. Don't get me wrong, she's also a cunt. But here's my point. She used to work at one of the most famous costume houses that supplied outfits to Broadway shows. She can make an outfit out of a pot holder. She can do wigs. She does her own makeup. She is unbelievable. Thank God the bitch can't sing. If she could sing, I literally would probably be in a box right now because I'd be so bitter. But sounds like a Muppet with emphysema, but she's very talented. Not everybody can do everything, but can you do something?
Maybe I could help her. She could just lip sync to me.
Oh, you would help her open up for sure. But you know what's funny, Jackie, is that she also challenged herself as a performer. Even though she got the accolades from Drag Race, she got the accolades from sold out shows, and you do this as well. You change your brand, you challenge yourself. So Bianca was on when she was at the Amundsen doing Everybody's Talking About Jamie, where she did have to sing on stage, and she talked about this was a challenge. I had to play somebody else, and she went through that challenge, and she did it every night, and she did the damn thing.
I didn't see the show because I'm not a fan. We're friends, but I'm not a fan. I'm just kidding. Oh my God. I'm just hoping. If she's not listening right now, it's just like I'm not really hurting her, So somebody can tell her I said that.
Somebody will tweet her.
She did do the rap in her season. Do you remember that?
No.
It was a challenge. She did
I didn't
a rap.
watch that.
Oh yeah.
I'll be honest. I'm newish to Drag Race. The last maybe 4 seasons.
Oh, cultural appropriation.
It was a little cultural.
So Jackie, I want to know though. We know about your accolades. We know about the shows you've worked on, but we know so little about Jackie Beat's early beginnings. You were born in West Covina. What kind of kid were you? Were you the class clown? Were you the shy kid? Were you the theater kid? Were you the nerd? Like, who was Jackie Beat growing up?
Well, yes, I was born at Queen of the Valley Hospital. Oh, the irony.
That is funny.
And then when I was 2 years old, we moved to Scottsdale, Arizona, which I always say is a great place to grow up if you like, Southwestern art, the color beige, and date rape.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
But now there's 3 big clubs in Scottsdale,
Mhm.
or Scottsdale adjacent.
Well, there's big clubs everywhere because now,
Because you were there.
gays and drags, that's all the leather bars who wouldn't even let drag queens in the door all of a sudden have a RuPaul's Drag Race viewing party.
Mhm.
Isn't that the craziest thing? Yeah.
A chunky, fair. I was kind of quiet, but I mean, I was a screaming queen. My mom was thrilled, at 4 or 5 years old when it became apparent that I was gay. We used to watch the Carol Burnett show together and
yes.
Sonny and
Nice.
Cher, and we did everything together. My mom is a huge fag hag. She's no longer with us.
I'm sorry.
She was born in Milan, and she never should have become a wife and a mother. It was very like Bridges of Madison County. She ended up in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we did everything together. I'm not kidding. I was 8 years old, and we would go to lunch, and I would have steak tartare, and she'd be chain smoking Pall Mall. And we would go see The Sting, Paper Moon, everything you want to know about sex, but we're afraid to ask. So she was like a really great mother, and like I said, thrilled that I was gay. But I was the class clown because I quickly learned that if you make people laugh, they won't beat the shit out of you.
A lot of comedians say that. Leslie Jones said it. It's like, that's your number one defense is be funny.
Yep.
Laugh at yourself first. Jackie, do you mind if I ask how old you were when you lost your mom?
I don't remember. I'm terrible. I could do a commercial every word from 1972, but I can't tell you when my mom died. I'm just not like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know numbers that way. I don't remember. If you told me, if you told me the number, I'd be like, there's no way it was that long ago. Because to me, it's just, everything's a few years ago. To me, a pack of cigarettes is still $2, and a brand new car is $10,000.
Maybe that's why she hasn't remembered you 6 times.
Actually, I went to the grocery store the first time in like a decade. I'm not kidding. Cereal. When did cereal get so expensive? By the way?
Everything's expensive
cereal!
now. Everything is.
It's like effing cereal. But Jackie, were you an adult? Were you younger when you lost your mom?
Oh, I was an adult. Yes, I was. Yes, I was probably in my late 40s.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you work through that grief, and especially when you have this other dichotomy of your personality that's like Jackie Beat, and how did you work through that grief personally?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know how to answer that. I mean, I think just everyone's different, and I don't really remember how I worked through it. I think I remember, and I've told friends this, I remember having a conscious thought that when my mother was still alive, she was in Scottsdale, Arizona. And now that she's no longer with us physically, now she's everywhere. And I literally almost felt more connected to her after she died. Because I talked to her all the time. Oh, I was performing in San Francisco and I was staying at this hotel that it's now called the Vertigo Hotel because they actually shot part of Vertigo there, the Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Oh.
And I can't remember what it was called before that, but I was staying there and I remember she had just died and I said I was really in a bad mood and it was time to do my makeup. And I said, Mom, if you are here, give me a sign. And the TV went on in the other room. It was like this 2-room suite and the TV just popped on and I was literally like, oh, I did not expect that to really happen. But she was into all of that. So it kind of makes sense.
Sounds like something out of an Alfred Hitchcock movie, actually.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah. Especially out of yeah. So, Jackie, I want to know, when was the first time that you saw drag, that you were exposed to it?
Well, when I say that my mom was a fag hag, and I do use that term,
Lovingly.
affection. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
It really, I know the world has changed, but my mom and dad's best friends growing up in Scottsdale, Arizona, were a gay couple named Bob and Jim. And I distinctly remember, I mean, live and in person, I remember, I'm going to forget her name, the one that was on the episode of All in the Family, Beverly LaSalle.
Mm.
I remember Beverly LaSalle, and then there's a few people that I don't really consider drag queens because they're straight and they always had to keep their big toe back in heterosexuality and not be,
Yeah.
too real. But like, Flip Wilson. I remember pop culture stuff like that. But it was always, I don't know how to explain it. Like, we're kind of laughing at the whole, like, it's ludicrous. Like, I'm not really attractive and aren't I manly and kind of ugly and
kind of like a some like it hot type thing.
Yeah. I just think I really, really appreciate guys who do drag who really give it 110% and don't feel the need to, you know what I mean, like wink or like just embrace the femininity, even if it's heightened femininity. But I remember going to, I must have been like 18 or something, which is, not a kid, but I think we went to some annual drag ball that, and they were like, I think that they brought me because my mom's friends were all like, honey. Listen, the hardest part of coming out was because everybody just knew it from day one and assumed. So I was kind of like, hey, don't just assume because I know every line to this, every sketch on the Carol Burnett show that I'm gay. So anyway, we went to some big thing and it was a lot of guys wearing next to nothing and a lot of guys in drag. And I loved it because I've always been all about dressing up, and I'm really all over the place right now because my brain is really fucked up.
No, but this is fascinating because we don't get this kind of sit down time with Jackie, because when we see Jackie Beat interviews, it's like, okay, be Jackie, be funny, do this. It's like, no, I want to know about the persona behind that. And it's funny that you mentioned the Carol Burnett show because, we just celebrated her birthday on TV, which everybody was shocked that the ratings were so high. Everybody was watching this. I watched it. And there was a whole montage about the drag that they had on the show from Harvey Korman, and it was the laughing because they look so terrible in drag, but there was drag in one of the top watched TV shows for how many years in every single TV set. And so now the fact that we're criminalizing drag, it's like, it's so blatant what's literally going on.
Well, listen, let me just say one thing about all that. These people don't believe a thing. They don't even believe what they're saying.
100%.
They really don't. They're just like, look over there, don't look over here.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't look at the fact that I just took this giant check from the NRA and I'm allowing kids to literally, be slaughtered. Please don't focus on that. Focus on literally that shiny thing over there.
Yep. Literally.
And I don't know if you saw this. Somebody was sending around this clip from The Love Boat from like 1982. With Mackenzie Phillips, who was on One Day at a Time. Did you see this?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh my God, she played a transsexual.
What?
On The Love Boat of all shows. Not exactly, the most serious show. And I have to say, she was an old friend, like college friend and or roommate of Gopher. Remember Gopher?
Yeah, of course. No, I know Love Boat. Jill Whelan is one of my friends.
Yeah, Fred Grandy plays Gopher. And anyway, so there's this scene where she says, I'm Ray. And he's like, what? And he's like, I'm Ray. I really, realized that I'm a woman. Oh, you found it. It is, I'm not kidding you guys, so well handled, so well done, so smart and ahead of its time in 1982 on a mainstream top 10, TV show when there was only 3 fucking networks.
Wow.
So we're literally devolving. Devo was right.
Devolving. And I don't know if people remember when Mr. Brady played a trans character on, I think it was a show called John Trapper MD, but it was another major
Medical Center.
Medical Center. But he played a trans character, and this was at that time. It's like the seeds were there. The representation was there. I mean, these conversations have been having.
And I'm sure that these 14-year-old kids would watch the scene and bitch and moan that a real transsexual didn't play the part, and it was some dude or some woman. Like how? And it's like, honey, that wasn't the world then.
100%. Remember when Felicity Huffman did that movie and she was nominated,
Transamerica.
and nobody had ever seen a full budget film about a trans character. And so my point is like the story got told. Thank God that story got told because it had conversations to open up the door to representation. We still don't have A-list trans actors. We just don't. So when Hollywood is like, well, trans has to play trans, it's like, okay, well, we need A-lister trans people then.
Also,
It's a slow road.
with Pose coming out and all the major actresses in there, all of them transgender themselves.
I have I have some issues
Oh,
with,
you have
with the
issues with Pose?
acting from Pose, but anyway.
Well, I mean,
But Jackie beat.
Wait a minute. What did you just say?
No, I just said something about some of the levels of acting on Pose.
I will say this.
Yes, please.
Because I've heard complaints.
Okay.
And I always say you have to understand that these people are on stage 24/7. So I'm just saying that they are dramatic and they are, a lot and they are extra. So I understand what you're saying about the acting, but if you've ever been around some of those people, that's the way they act.
Well, thank you for saying that. I've had issues, and I've talked about it on the show. It's like we also need to hold our content up to a certain quality.
right.
Like when we know when a friend says, "Oh, I'm in a new web series," we're like, "Oh God, like do I have to see it?" But the quality is improving. But we do also have to keep ourselves accountable. But Jackie,
Well, I agree. I
you are
remember
right.
back in the 80s, people would send me invites to an art show, and you would go see the art show, and it would be like, this is garbage. And I know art is subjective, but when you put gay at the top of the list, like
Yeah.
I'm a gay artist, that should be 5 or 6 down the list. You should be a good artist. You should be a trained artist. You should be an intuitive artist. You should be a groundbreaking artist, whatever. Same with comedy, same with anything. So, the new thing sometimes gets cut slack because we're going overboard a little in one direction, and then hopefully the pendulum swings and the quality comes. But
And I mean,
I don't think
you've
anyone
seen
could
my
really-
acting. You've
I
seen
don't
my
think we
acting.
should, and I'm not saying you did. I don't think we should underestimate the cultural, value of a show like Pose.
100%. And it's conversations. This is why I was excited to have you on the show, because you don't hold back and we can actually have a real conversation. You're not trying.
Because I can put a sentence together.
But you're not trying to placate to some other thing. You're not trying to get cast on a different show. You're not trying to be PC. You're not trying to be some fake activist. It's like, no, we need to have real conversations about our community. We need to challenge ourselves so we can get better. We need to support ourselves when it's due. But let's be honest and have some of these conversations. Like we just had this conversation about the acting.
I don't know if I can take credit, but at my age, I'm too exhausted to fake anything.
Jackie, we have to talk about your debut as Jackie Beat at LA's Cafe Largo in the late 80s. Where did you come up with Jackie Beat, and how did that debut go?
Well, first of all, I'll tell the real story, which is a little different. Was it Cafe Largo? Yeah, there was a place called Cafe Largo. There is one now, but it's a different location.
Right.
And the guy who owns it, Flanagan, is one of my oldest and dearest friends, even though I literally probably have not seen him in 20 years. Like, he'll just text me out of nowhere. He's amazing. So anyway, Cafe Largo is amazing. But back in the 80s, when I moved to LA, right after I graduated high school, because I was in Scottsdale, Arizona, with a pompadour, a vintage suit, a wool overcoat, fingerless gloves. I was on a Vespa, and somebody said, "Why don't you move to LA?" And within a week, I'd sold everything, and I moved to LA. And I was sleeping on a friend's couch. I was a real artist, like a photographer. Yeah. I wrote poetry. I mean, I cannot tell you how much poetry I wrote. Was any of it good? Anyway, so they had these open mic nights at Cafe Largo for poetry, like Monday night poetry readings. And I would go every single week and sign up. And Ali Sheedy would read.
Wow.
Robert Downey Jr., when he was still a mess, he would read his poetry. In other words, all the famous people got
crazy.
Free. All the famous people, because it's Hollywood. That's just the way it works. So they never, ever got to me. And one week, I really got pissed off. And I was like, I'm just going to take, not to use the word piss again, because I hate as a writer using the word twice. I'm going to take the piss out of this whole thing. So I got in beatnik drag, black turtleneck, black pageboy wig, black sunglasses, a black beret, black skirt, black boots, all of it. And I wrote a poem called Landlord, and it was this beatnik poem about, my landlord. And I showed up, and not only did they not let me read, they wouldn't let me in.
What?
Oh.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I was in drag and it was weird, and we're not taking, and the whole point was that I was going to make fun of their fucking night. And this was, different promoters. This wasn't like Flanagan's, problem.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was like, well, I'm in full drag, and this is a really fucking funny poem. It was essentially stand-up comedy in the guise of beat poetry. So I knew that it was like open mic night at Rage, which is now called Heart in West Hollywood.
Oh my God.
So I went there, and there was a girl with a clipboard, and I was like, I want to sign up. And she's like, what's your name? And I was like, oh, shit. And I was thinking of Jack Kerouac and Jackie Kennedy, and I need to think of the most 60s sounding name ever. And I just blurted out Jackie Beat, and she wrote it on the clipboard. And I did my poem, which was, like I said, stand-up comedy, and everybody lost their shit, and I won the contest, and that was all it took.
That's her story. I mean, like, literally. And it's funny. Rage was my first club coming out to West Hollywood. Rage has been there for so many different people's coming out, so to speak, in terms of entertainment. Jackie, that's an amazing story.
That's a great story.
And what it tells you, we have a lot of entertainers that watch and listen to the show. It's like you just have to take life by the hands and do things like that. Because if you don't take chances, you're just going to sit there and wait for Ali Sheedy to stop to stop talking.
Let me tell you something. Their poetry was horrible. Like, one of the poems by Robert Downey Jr. was about, like, getting drunk and peeing in a potted plant in the corner, and, like, people just loved it. And I was like, I'm going to make people actually snap their fingers.
Yes.
And go back and, like, I'm just going to make fun of all this because they're all taking themselves so fucking seriously. And to me, that is the ultimate sin, taking yourself too seriously.
Thank you. Thank you. Even if you're like Meryl Streep, don't take yourself too seriously.
And she doesn't.
No, she doesn't. Jackie, I'm obsessed with the whole period of your life. So fascinated by the New York in the late 80s, early 90s. We here in LA can't even fathom a scene like that. We have Party Monster, RuPaul, Dragon Punk, and Club Kid personalities that a younger generation doesn't even know. What were your first few weeks of living in New York like, and how did you break into that scene?
Well, again, I'll clarify a few numbers and stuff. Just because I've told the story so many times, I do know. I may not know when my mother died, but I know when I moved to New York. I was a really big fish in the LA drag scene.
Of course.
And that's the only time you could really say fish when it comes to my drag. Send your cards and letters. That's offensive. Anyway, no. So I was like the shit in LA, which was kind of easy. It wasn't a very, it wasn't a super big drag town. There wasn't a whole lot to compete with. I'm not saying I wasn't good. So I was always terrified of New York. And I actually moved to New York in like 95 or 96 to do Valley of the Dolls off Broadway. We did it here in LA, and it was a huge hit. And Ron Delsner, who actually like brought the Beatles to the US, produced it, and we did it at Circle in the Square. And it was a huge hit, and this is how long ago it was. I would take a cassette tape with a backing track to all the gay clubs and say, hey, can I do a number for free? And they'd be like, sure. And within a week, my phone was ringing off the hook.
Wow.
So I was terrified of New York, and I was there about a week, and it dawned on me, there's kind of delusional, crappy performers everywhere. Which I don't include myself in. I think I'm a good performer.
Of course.
So the cream rose to the top. If you,
I'm gonna remember that line for even in my
100%.
profession. I'm gonna remember that one.
But again, it's that hustle. It's like you
famous
make
line,
it work.
famous phrase.
But again, it's making it work, and it's making it work. And I'm sorry that I got the number wrong in
No,
terms
that's
of
okay.
the
I
ratings.
just, and I remember once Alexis Arquette and I went to see a screening. I think it was here in Los Angeles, of Party Monster.
Yeah.
And
Which
oh
is
my
what-
God, we just had such a fucking attitude about it. I mean, we always had an attitude about everything. I mean, that's why you hang out with Alexis Arquette, to have an attitude. And we were sitting there, and there was a scene where they're backstage, and the club promoter who flew in like 12 of these club kids,
Yes.
you know,
yes.
Alec and just all of them. He was like, "So when do you guys go on?"
Yes.
And somebody was like, "I don't know if you remember this scene."
Oh, I remember money, success, fame, glamour.
Yeah,
I
and the guy
know
was
that.
like, "What do you mean we go on?" He's like, "Well, when do you perform?" "Perform? We don't do anything." And Alexis and I looked at each other, and we literally got up and left, which is just really cunty. But so I appreciate club kid culture, but I'm a performer, and you know, they're artists of a different type. You could say they're, you know, Warhol, and I'm Picasso.
But it is funny.
I'm really self-deprecating. I have a nose coming out of the side of my face.
No, but I have to say, Party Monster was a movie that I grabbed onto coming out, and you know there was, you know, no Wilson Cruz was in it. We had Macaulay Culkin, Chloe Sevigny was in it. But I remember that scene so well. I was like, money, success, fame, glamour. But Jackie, you also were very involved in the community in the '90s when we still had the AIDS epidemic. I would love for you to share with our audience what you want the younger generation to know most about that time, because it's a time that our younger generation does not understand.
I immediately think of a few years ago, before, you know, I know things have changed, and now all porn is bareback because of certain medications and everything. But there was a time where it was really kind of like, I mean, when I think of my friend Shishi LaRue, she
Yes.
was so, everything was about safe sex, God love her. And that was literally her brand and, you know, her mantra. And then, you know, things changed. Thank God. But I remember like a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago, before it was really, I posted something. I know this is so stupid. I posted like, just saw this porn movie, and when the guy put on a condom, it actually turned me on, because I thought to myself, oh, this is someone who's taking care of himself and who loves himself. And all the comments were like, said no one, never. And, you know, and I get it. Maybe, you know, I was, you know, pushing it a little bit, but it really was kind of like, oh, this hot guy is taking care of himself. I'm rambling. Anyway.
No,
and
but
then
that's an interesting point, because it's a whole different perspective. I'm just the
one
opposite with
person
something.
really ripped me a new one and said, you know, this is like, you know, screaming at kids today about tuberculosis, or, you know, you're so out of the loop and you're old. And I said, you know what, honey? If all your friends were killed by the Manson family, you might occasionally remind people to lock their fucking doors.
Yep.
And that's the world we came from. Like, I mean, it was a death sentence. It was terrifying. The president wouldn't even say the word.
Right.
And it was horrible. I remember the first guy I ever went home with, we were making out on his couch. He looked like a really young Matthew Broderick, which is not really my type. I'm more into, you know, like sort of swarthy, you know, foreigners. But he was just this all-American, like adorable. And we were making out on the couch, and the TV was on in the background. And all of a sudden there was a public service announcement about AIDS. And we just sort of like stopped making out, looked at each other, and I got up and I just left.
I mean, it would kind of kill the
Very
mood.
depressing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the disease. That disease was also used to attack the LGBTQ community, which we know now. Our younger generation has a little taste of that, of what it's like to be under attack. But
Oh, of course, honey, they're going to grab onto anything. like the moment AIDS is under control, and I'm not saying it's under control, but things have changed. Like back in the day, if you'd have ever said, this is what it's going to be like, this is what we kind of dreamt of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's about as good as it can get, as long as you take care of yourself and do what you need to do. The moment that's gone, then it's something like monkeypox, or they're all pedophiles, or drag queens are, fucking, scaring the children, or this whole thing about drag queens grooming children. It's like, I want nothing to do with children.
I would never bring a child to your show, by the way. Like, that would be number
this
one.
is
Like,
pedophile
hello.
101. You become a priest. You become a trusted person who flies under the radar like a coach or, a Boy Scout leader. You do not dress like this and call attention to yourself.
Right.
That's
Where
100%.
Yeah.
Where do you find drag queens? At a fucking gay bar at 1 a.m. Have you ever seen a child at a gay bar at 1 a.m.? Just because a handful of queens started reading to children, and it's like anything.
Which was such a positive thing, by the way. It came from such a positive motivation.
There are drag queens for adults and performances that are for children. One of the funnest things I ever did was a show called Dragon's Dream, with Mario Diaz on the Lower East Side, and it was at this children's theater, and I played this sort of Disney villainess, and they loved it. They didn't care who was underneath the outfit.
All right, Jackie, it's time for another Jackie Spill the Tea.
Oh, God.
Are you ready? Worst celebrity meeting. Because you've met and performed with everybody.
Yes. I won't pick the real one because he's not even that famous. Probably Madonna.
Worst?
Oh,
What
I
happened?
want to hear this.
I mean, I've never heard a good story about Madonna. I've never heard a story where Madonna was so nice to me. I've never heard that.
Right?
Yeah.
So, shocker, everyone.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. News flash. Plot twist. Madonna is a self-centered bitch. No, listen, I appreciate everything she's done, but
100%.
Years ago, her brother Christopher Ciccone threw a huge birthday party for her out here in Los Angeles, and he brought me and Kiki and Herb, who is Kenny Melman and Justin Bond, their lounge characters. He hired us to perform, and I was singing a song. I mean, we were thrilled. You can imagine, like, oh my God, Madonna. It paid really well. They got us rooms at the Chateau Marmont. This is when we lived in New York.
Oh, wow.
So to come back to LA. So I'm in the middle of a song, and she's literally sitting in the middle of the room all alone, and everybody else is like 10, 15 rows back in a group. So she's sitting there staring at me while I'm singing, and I think I was like, I'm going to start with, a torch song or a ballad and just show that I can sing.
Yeah.
Because I can. So I was singing, and she starts going, sing a happy song.
Oh, no.
Sing a happy song.
Oh,
And I
no.
stopped singing, and I looked at her, and I said, bitch.
Oh!
I'm not kidding you guys. I said, I don't care who you are. Stop talking while I'm fucking singing. And no, to her credit, the look on her face was like, I love you. And at that moment, I figured out this is why she married Sean Penn. This is why she dated, in quotes, Sandra Bernhardt and Guy Ritchie. These are people who didn't take her shit. She's surrounded by sycophants and yes people. So when somebody says, shut up, bitch, she gets off on it.
Well, and she knows that she can't best you. Like, she would never, whatever comeback she would have said to you would not have worked. She's that
Right.
smart.
I mean, the entire room was on her side. sitting there staring, like asking mommy, do we like this person? Do we approve? But I will say this, Nikki Harris told me years later, she was like, girl, she was on ecstasy.
Well, I'm not going to doubt that. But this also goes to the fact, do you get starstruck at all? Because you literally
Oh my God,
have met.
are you crazy?
But I mean, to not get starstruck with Madonna and be like,
To
"Shut
call
up."
Madonna a
Yeah.
bitch and, you know,
So
just willy nilly.
who starstrucks you, or who starstruck you?
Wait a minute. I mean, listen, Madonna is so famous that you can't help but be like, oh my God, it's Madonna.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like walking into the room and seeing, you know, the Mona Lisa. It's not that great.
It's not. It's small.
And
it's
I didn't
boring.
mean to put her down, but like, she is a great business person. She's a great marketer. She's a chameleon. Listen, she's a great entertainer. Is she a great singer? No. Is she like a talent? You know, like she's just slapped her name on most songs that she does.
Yep.
She's either co-writer or pretends she is. And again, I don't want to I do appreciate Madonna and her place in pop culture history. But when Catherine O'Hara accidentally walked into my office back in the early 80s.
This was
my
before
God.
like Schitt's Creek, before
Schitt's Creek.
Beetlejuice, before all
Before
that.
Home
I
Alone.
was
Before
just
Home Alone.
SCTV. See, the women on SCTV, Andrea Martin is
Yes.
my comedy
Love
idol.
Andrea Martin.
Yes, she is brilliant, and she's actually a friend of mine now. I could cry, thank God.
You're so
I am
lucky.
not wearing any eye makeup.
Oh, no.
Anyway.
There it is. There it is.
What drag queen would do that? So once Catherine O'Hara walked into my office when I had an office job at Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood, and I lost my shit.
Wow.
Then another time, many years later, I was performing in full, like Christmas drag for a private party at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. These people hired me and they sent me all this hilarious information about their friend so I could write a song. Like, she loves shoe shopping, skinny girl vodka, and statement necklaces. And I was like, Jesus Christ. So I work on this song and I'm singing this song and no one's listening. Literally no one's paying attention. It's raining outside, full drag, you know, dumb bitches, Beverly Hills, you know. It was terrible, and I thought, you're getting paid. It can't always be fun, whatever. So I go to leave, and I turn around a corner, and I almost physically run into Barbara fucking Streisand.
Oh.
And she goes, oh, my goodness. And she had a friend with her and a big, huge bodyguard behind her who was holding an umbrella. And everybody always asked me, like, oh, my God, what did you say to her? And I was like, when you are literally 3 inches away from Barbara Streisand, all the oxygen is sucked out of the atmosphere, and you don't have a brain cell, you know, I couldn't say anything. I literally just looked at her like I was seeing Bigfoot.
Oh, she would love that, by the way. She's like, I'm not Bigfoot.
Barbara Streisand is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, they don't... Barbara Streisand and like Liza Minnelli, and you know, they literally don't exist anymore. There's no one and it's partially the business, and it's partially just, you know, I don't know what it is.
Well, it's also what we accept as talent. Barbara Streisand had to overcome her looks. She wasn't the Hollywood princess, whatever, but it was her talent that stood out. We just don't have that kind of talent. Yeah. When we think about a voice like Judy Garland, we don't have that voice.
Look at those pictures of Barbara Streisand. She is stunning. Like, yes, that's not a classic nose, but I don't want to see the same nose all the time. Like, she is so perfect in her, for lack of a better word, imperfection. And honey, I got news for you. She fucked every guy she worked with, from what I understand. If she did a duet with you,
I think that's also one of the things.
With her.
Yeah, I think that's actually one of the things that makes her even greater, is that she had the confidence to be like, I'm not going to change anything about myself. And she's like, I'm not going to bend to your will. Like, this is me, and I'm
that's
fucking
100%.
talented.
Her and Bette Midler would not get surgery on their nose, even though Hollywood told them, because it would change their voice. It would change their tonal quality. It would change their vibrato. It would change the air.
Yeah. And I have a friend who is half Italian and half Jewish. I'm not going to say her name because it's not really my story to tell, but she's always been like, oh, should I have gotten a nose job? Should I get a nose job? And I'm like, I just picture somebody looking through headshots and everybody looks the same.
Oh my
and
God.
The moment I get to you, I would stop dead in my tracks and be like, okay, maybe this isn't the lead, but this is definitely the best friend or the kooky neighbor or someone interesting. Give me something interesting.
You know, that's really interesting because we have like Melissa McCarthy now is an A-lister. When she started, she was that girl. Catherine Hahn, who played in the Marvel, comic book stuff.
Maybe not the movies.
Anyway,
I mean, if it's Marvel, it ain't worth remembering.
Well, that's true. But now she's all these stars. Harvey Guillen, who was in What We Do in the Shadows, that TV
great
show. He's the runaway star who just was at the Met Gala.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have these, and this is the new conversation. But this didn't happen back then. It's funny. What's Up Doc was just on TCM this last weekend, and Barbra Streisand with Ryan O'Neal, and it was Madeline Kahn's first ever movie. And her story was that she was so nervous being in the same room, whatever. That movie is so magical because it was everything.
Oh,
Okay.
I know my friend Muffy is watching right now.
Hi, Muffy.
It's her all-time favorite movie, and I know for a fact I've seen Madeline Kahn interviewed. She hated her look because she was beautiful.
Really?
She was the
gorgeous.
frumpy with the wig, the flip wig. But
And
she
yeah, I
stole
think
that film. She was hilarious.
She was, I mean, Paper Moon is one of my all-time favorite movies. And my favorite story is that, the line at the very end where she's going up the hill. Remember when she has to stop at the Tinky Wink? And Tatum O'Neal's character goes up the hill and won't get in the car, and she has to come up the hill. And she's being real sweet. She's like, hey, honey, how you? And then she kind of twists her ankle and she's like, son of a bitch. And she does this whole speech. And she goes, listen, honey, if you don't come down off this hill and get in the car and let, then I don't get nothing. You don't get nothing. He don't get nothing. So what do you say? Let Trixie sit up front with her big titties. And she went to Peter Bogdanovich and said, Peter, I can't say that line. It's so embarrassing. I know she's a stripper, but I just really can't say that line. So they filmed it several times, and he's like, well, you just give me the line once. And if you watch the movie, he uses that line, and she says it with this layer of embarrassment. Like, this is who I am, but I'm not proud of it. It's so good. I adore her, and she left us way too early.
Way too early. But that's also filmmaker Bogdanovich would have that kind of, he had like this Hitchcock kind of communication with his actors and what he would foist on them, knowing what he was going to get. Jackie, we have to get back to you. Here's the thing. You do this in all interviews. It's all about
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I became friendly with Tatum O'Neal. This is crazy to be like, literally, I watched that movie in the theater, became one of my favorite, and then I become friendly with Tatum O'Neal.
That's crazy.
I remember reading in an article or an interview that every line was a line reading. He just said, say it like this, and then they shot it. Say this like this.
Whoa.
Yeah, so she won an Oscar, but she's honest about the fact that, she didn't really know what she was doing.
That's crazy. Okay, Jackie, back to you, because I got so many questions about you, not your opinion on the industry, because we've kind of heard that. We were talking about, meeting Madonna and Barbra Streisand. I have to tell you, I joke about the times I've met you. Even preparing for this interview, there's this nervousness, this intimidation to talk with somebody who has done all that, seen all that, met all those, and who could also cut you down with one of the funniest lines if you say something wrong. That's the Jackie Beat persona, but I want to know how Kent is most different than Jackie. And this is actually a question from one of your fans.
Well, first of all, when I studied at Second City, and all that means is my check cleared, I studied improv at Second City, and my teacher, Chris Barnes, who is supremely talented, and thank God he's no longer as tortured as he was, he said, wear your character like a thin veil. And listen, there's nothing I love more than like, you know, hat and glasses. I mean, look at me, hat, glasses, wig, all the layers, an accent, a cigarette hanging out of your mouth. But I feel
Are you
like
from
the
Alabama?
character needs to kind of be at least partially you. So I've had people complain recently that, like, you know, somebody in the audience said something and I wasn't mean enough. They were, you know, I mean, back in the day, I'd literally jumped into the audience and strangled a person.
I've been witness to actually some of your private performances at somebody's like you know, backyard party or corporate events. I've seen you do this. You have eviscerated people in front of me that I thought they would never survive from that.
Yeah, but I just feel like, I don't know, I get it all out in the character, and my friend Muffy will agree with this. She was kind of shocked at what a prude I can be. My mother was very like, I remember my mother was like, oh, these couples who, you know, go to the bathroom with the door open. There's no mystery. Like, God, my God, this is... And I agree. It's like...
100%.
Yeah. I just don't understand. And like certain words, like I have written songs, I mean, literally. I have a song about felching. It is so...
Yes.
It is so relentless and over the top. I mean, people are groaning and moaning and screaming, like literally like in physical pain. There are certain words and certain things that I just, I don't know how to explain it. In my real life, I'm a little squeamish and a little prudish. And
That's
I think
so funny.
I think I'm nicer than people think. I mean, unless I am delusional, I really do think.
Can I say something? And this is just the times meeting you 6 times. You're also, I think, and you have to be a little guarded of who you let in, because people want a piece of Jackie Beat. They want to be like, I hung out with Jackie Beat tonight. I got this and I got that, or I want to impress you with who I am. And so I think you do keep a little guard about that. And it's like, I don't know the first thing, like how you wake up, all that, because that's not your social media.
Well, I mean, I try to do some personal stuff. It's mostly about my dogs and stuff like that. I just, you know, I have friends. I have, you know, like, why would I complain about? I mean, I posted something today that was like, I can't even remember. It was just about how sometimes things just suck.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did see that. It's like,
Yeah.
It was very basic. But I just kind of felt like I needed to say it out loud, and because I needed to remind myself, like sometimes like you're just like kind of on a downward, you know, but you got to hang in there. But I don't remember the question.
No, but like the whole thing was like, how you must have.
First of all, there are certain people who come up and you can't win. You literally feel it in your soul. Like if I am not enough of a star, they're gonna hate, like this is not gonna end well, because it's all about them, and I appreciate that they love what I do and they go on, but I just like, I feel like I can't win. And also I just, like I said, I don't take myself that seriously.
How
and
are
once
you?
I was getting ready, I remember I was doing my makeup in a hotel room and I was kind of like, another show. And I was like, no, think about when you buy a ticket to a show to see somebody you love, you're excited, you're bringing your friend, you're deciding whether to eat dinner before or after, what are you going to wear? Like it's hard to remember that's what people are thinking about your show. It really is hard because it's just a job, and I just try not to take it that seriously. So, but then I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, be the star they think you are, because it's almost rude to be too approachable. It's almost,
That's true too.
disappointing because they're paying $40. Like they want to see Jackie Beat. They don't want to see like, hey, I'm really nice.
Well, and here's the thing. It could be their first drag show that they ever could afford to go see. They can't afford the 2-drink minimum, so they're going to sit in the back, but they have to see Jackie Beat. And you're right. It's like Patti LuPone. You expect Patti LuPone to be Patti LuPone. Yeah. So how do you recover? Like after a night when you perform, you go home. How do you get back into you? Like what's your process? Do you just take things off? Do you watch an episode of Seinfeld? Like what is it that you're doing? What's your ritual?
it literally, there's not this major line, because to drive home, the wig has to come off. The shoes usually come off mid-show, and they're comfortable, not even high heels. People are like, "Why are you wearing flats?" You want to know why I'm wearing flats? Because my fucking feet hurt from paving the way, bitch. So,
Well done. Well done.
Oh, that's a
me,
clip.
it's not very glamorous, to be honest. It's just a job, and I just take half of it off, and I'm driving home, and I hit a drive-through, and they look at me like, sometimes I look, I'll go through the drive-through, and I'll have full face with no wig on and a man's shirt, and the girl will be wearing fake eyelashes now. Maybe it's like some Mexican girl who's really done her makeup,
And she has those eyebrows that are painted higher than God.
Chola
Yeah.
And she'll look at me, and we'll have a moment, and she'll even if she doesn't say it, and sometimes they do say it, like, "Oh my God, you look so pretty," and I'm like, "Oh, it's better with the wig," and they're like, "Do you want any dipping sauce?" And blah blah blah. So I don't know if I'm even answering the question. There's not a big differentiation between the real me, and there's nothing. I do feel bad for anyone who hasn't done drag, because there is nothing better than getting out of drag. But if people do want to do drag,
it's a plug. We have a plug.
It's a plug. Girl, plug that in.
well, it wouldn't be a Jackie Beat appearance. This is the Jackie Beat. I invented that fuckable clown eyeshadow palette.
What?
Does it stay on during sex, though? That's my question.
Of course it does. And the colors are amazing. I think the colors are why people buy it. The black is called Bianca's Heart.
Where can we buy this?
The orange is called Coco's One Wig.
Oh, where can we buy this? Where can we buy this? I have to buy it right now.
The silver glitter is called Robot Jizz. And then I have 6 different colors. I just have to do this.
Do you have sugar and spice in there?
Oh.
I have 6 different colors of lip gloss.
Where can we buy this? Where can we buy this? I have to buy it right now. I'm going to buy it from my mom.
She was ready.
The red is called Cunt Dracula. The pink is called Slut Shaming. The black is called I Love Elvira, because she's a friend of mine, and I wrote shows for her. So they're available at MissJackieBeat.com.
Miss as in M-I-S-S or M-S?
Yeah, M-I-S-S, as in I'm single. Let's get it on. And then, there's always T-shirts.
She was ready.
She was ready.
Ready.
Jackie B, can we get this in time for Mother's Day? I cannot think of a better Mother's Day
You're
present.
like, Jackie, is this why you were running late? Yeah,
that is a veteran. That is a veteran in the business.
Mm-hmm.
It comes in totally turquoise or Prince purple, because I'm a big fan of the 80s, and now I'm in my 80s for work.
I'm literally gonna go buy all of that.
Okay, good.
Jackie, about being yourself.
She's not going to gift it to you?
I literally have 2 pages of questions from your fans.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do short and sweet.
Okay, well, we're gonna do a Jackie spill the tea then. Do you hook up in drag?
Yes, I only hook up in drag.
No, that can't be true.
Let me tell you something.
Is that true?
Mm-hmm. She's talked about this.
Something to you. This is when I feel my most powerful, my most sexy, and I always thought, in the gay world, and I know things have changed, but you're old, you're fat, you're femme, nobody's into this. Well, in drag, I feel great. I'm not kidding you. So, Sherry Vine and I were performing in Tel Aviv several years ago, and she has this hookup app, and it works all over the world. And she's like, "Girl, you need to get this app. You're on the other side of the world. Have a little fun." And I'm like, "Oh, that's not for me." And she holds up her phone, and she's like, "Girl, look at this guy." And I was like, "How do I do this?" Well, I made a mistake. I didn't realize how it worked. So when the first guy left, the second guy that I was talking to was like, "I'm here. What room is it?"
Yeah.
It fixed my lipstick. 2 in one night.
It's a thing.
And it went from just kind of servicing one-sided, these straight dudes who are, kind of delusional. Now I ask questions like, what's in it for me? Are you going to reciprocate? I find these guys who are, can I just say it? They're into drag dick. So everyone's happy, getting top shelf, hot, straight.
It's hot straight guys into this. It's a thing.
Yeah, no, and I actually have a question. I was listening to a podcast that you did with The Bald and the Beautiful with Trixie and Katya, and you talked about being a side. And
Oh yeah, totally.
yeah, can you kind of
This is a
explain
new term.
It's a new term. And even in, in my profession, I'm still kind of like, wait, I need to understand. So just for my own
First of all,
knowledge.
I almost always hook up after a show because if I do full makeup and the guy flakes on me, I am beyond bitter because my makeup, my real makeup, takes like fucking 90 minutes, you know? So if you don't show up, I just got in drag for absolutely nothing. I'm not only sexually frustrated, but I just wasted 2 hours getting ready. So I usually hook up, make the most. I always say, I'm looking to make the most of this slutty makeup and my black fishnets. And they go, boing.
Perfect.
So, I've been in drag for a couple hours, and I always say fucking is way too much preparation and commitment. So I'm really, a side is just, not a top, not a bottom, just into oral and...
Right, there's no penetration.
No.
Okay,
You
okay.
can penetrate my face.
Well, because that's another 90-minute process. After getting in drag, it's another 90-minute process.
I think foreplay is the best part of sex, actually, and the more foreplay you do, the better.
Honey, destroy my makeup.
Okay.
TMI. And you know what?
And
Occasionally, PMJ.
And I have to tell you, I did an event with Sherry Vine last month in Palm Springs. They put our rooms next to each other at the hotel. Oh, no. I was like, are you doing a carnival? Are you doing a giveaway? Like, what's going on? And here I'm on Grindr like, anybody up for coffee?
Honey, let me tell you, all joking aside, you think that someone's doing you a favor, and then a friend of mine who is trans, she's like, first of all, never ever apologize. Always know that you're the goddess. This is what they want.
Yep.
I really can't believe there are guys out there like, this is what they want. Mm-hmm. And who am I to deny them?
And they're mostly straight, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't argue. Yeah, I don't like labels anyway.
Okay, we have to get back to your career because that's where we got a lot of the questions. How did you go from club personality to card-holding entertainer?
Talent.
No, but was like, so you were, okay, let's work this into the next question. You worked for a number of mainstream networks. Also as a member of the LGBTQ community, you've seen how representation has evolved, but what were some of your early experiences being in the writer's room for some of these networks, like Sci-Fi, which we know is very macho?
Well, I mean, I did the Sci-Fi network. I did one episode of this show. Oh my God, I can't even remember. Do you remember what it's called?
I'm addicted to Sci-Fi, so I remember everything. I've seen every Sharknado.
Yeah. So anyway,
I'm addicted.
The reason I moved back to LA was to write for this short-lived, very young sort of Saturday Night Live called Hype. And the reason that I was asked to do it is because my old friends Terry Sweeney, who was on Saturday Night Live, openly gay back in the day, in full drag, doing, Nancy Reagan. Him and his partner, Lanier Laney, they had this show called Hype, and they asked me to be a writer. And I was giving it away for free on my new website. Websites were kind of new.
Yeah.
And I was just writing fake gossip, and they were like, this is hilarious. Come to LA and write for this show. And I did. And like I said, it was kind of short-lived, but that kind of, I never really, what's the word I want to say, pursue anything. I just do what I do, and people come to me like, this is hilarious. Can you do it for me?
Okay, next question. You come from a sisterhood of queens. This actually comes from me. You get along smashingly with a number of your peers. Like we know Sherry Vine, like you talked about the whole list of people that you support. Some of the younger generation of drag queens are getting into social media fights. They're backstabbing, they're gossiping, they're trying to get other girls' gigs canceled. How have you stayed friends with your peers, and what draws you to support them rather than compete with them? Especially in today's day and age.
Talent. My answer for everything is going to be talent. No, listen, we realize that there's enough to go around, and to say that now with, 175 drag race losers, and I'm not even being mean, they didn't fucking win.
I don't
Like,
even remember some of the winners when they go back and they're like, "Oh, this winner." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
I have no clue.
There's a picture of them being crowned, and the Hindenburg is fucking blowing up in the background. Anyway, no, I just listen. There are people that I'm not best friends with everybody. Heclina just passed away, and we had a very, very weird relationship. Like there was a mutual respect, but we didn't really click. And she was just she was kind of a lot, and a lot of people would say that. We were not best friends, but we just knew each other for so long that we were like, you know what? Like I can say I loved her. I am shocked at how much it affected me. But no, someone like, listen, I respect all of these queens. And also you have to understand that like negativity sells. You know what I mean? Like it's clickbait. It's like arguing and taking things too seriously. And I love drag. Drag queens are like rap stars where, it's all about ego and saying you're the best. But a lot of them really can't back it up. And all they have is, scandal and fighting. And I think it's kind of sad. I mean, listen, I'll stand up for myself if somebody's.
Well, and I will say this. It's the drag culture. People compete now on Drag Race knowing somebody's going to make a meme if I say this funny thing. The camera's going to come to me if I tear down this other girl during Untucked. And it's like, well, is that funny? Do people care? And the fact that you build up your sisters like Sherry Vine, like Coco Peru, it's a whole different energy.
Well, it's also, listen, it's kind of like what we were talking about with my personality in and out of drag. I get it all out on the stage.
Yeah.
Nobody loves to roast people more than me. But I've said it before. It's like, I won't even bother to make a joke about you unless I kind of love you.
I love that. It's like the roast of Hollywood back when Milton Berle was doing
it's seriously,
those roasts.
if my circle of friends, my small circle of friends, if we're not roasting the shit out of each other, then something is wrong.
I just don't know what I would roast you at.
Yeah, but it takes intelligence and actual affection, and you have to make fun of yourself first. And those are the three things that these young queens who've never seen anything or done anything
or can't make a joke,
they don't realize. They see Bianca Del Rio or me or somebody just be a bitch, and they walk out into the audience and call somebody a cunt at brunch.
Yeah,
and
that's the new joke.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, cunts, and they're waiting for the applause. But it's the straight girls on their Pinot Grigio. They're like, she called me a cunt. I'm now supporting you.
I always say that's a sentence, not a joke. And I also, when I do brunch,
write that down.
Yes, when I do
Bubbles.
brunch,
Write it down.
I sometimes point out, I'm like, if I inadvertently call you a whore, please do not run to the manager and complain. I do not understand how that is possibly misconstrued as an insult. If I call you a whore, I am essentially saying you are hot enough to charge for sex.
And you're making money.
Right, and it's like some hot guy. It's like if I say you're so hot that if in the middle of sex you died, I'd keep going. That's a compliment. Learn how to take a fucking compliment.
Can you say that about me?
Yes.
Fuck yes.
Well, I would miss the voice.
Oh, that's right. Maybe like my last gasp would be like.
No, the air comes out. If you're, I had this weird dream about sleeping with Brad Pitt's dead body.
You know who also has an amazing voice is Michael Del Rey.
Where's he been though? He's been missing.
Well, he's on social media. I don't know if he's working that much. But anyway, if I ever hooked up with Michael Del Rey or you, which I doubt this would have, but I would literally just whisper in my ear. Just like, yeah.
So, Jackie, part about being honest, which is something that I loved about you, you shared some of your cosmetic surgeries you were going through. I thought that was very vulnerable in terms of drag, but also LGBTQ aging. And then we know that you're preparing for your big show, your party, called Sexty.
Yes.
Were you not afraid of, labeling yourself in a certain age group? Because I'll be honest, for me, I will never put age because people assume, then you can't do this anymore or you're in this category.
Well, it reminds me of, again, Alexis Arquette, before she realized she was trans and he was an out gay man.
She went through the whole realm of it. She really did.
Yeah. But
Beautiful
there was
soul.
a point where he was a gorgeous man and a great
Hot.
actor. Great actor. If anybody wants to minimize Alexis Arquette's acting abilities, rent the movie. Jack Be Nimble. He was on Broadway with Laurie Metcalf in Libra, playing Lee Harvey Oswald, and learned Russian. This was a talented fucking person. So anyway, here's my point. Alexis was like a member of my famous family came to me and said, "Don't ever use the word gay." And I sat down and I thought, like, I don't want to be famous badly enough to not be my real self and live an authentic life and not walk on eggshells and pretend. So that's how I feel about my age. I think the young people need to know. Listen, I don't do high kicks. If I do a death drop, call 911. It means I actually died.
I wish
Like-
Drag Race would cancel death drops because it's like, oh, I have no talent lip syncing, but I'll do a death drop at the end and then I'll win.
Yep.
And then I'll pull my wig off and there'll be a wig under it. Like, I'm so old, I remember when, you know, all you had to do a successful drag performance was not fall and keep your wig on. I'm so old, I remember when, you know, Greek yogurt just meant you found a curly black hair in it. So anyway, well, here's my point. So I say how old I am because the kids need to fucking know. I used to sit next to Joan Rivers. She was 81 years old and she was at the top of her game.
Fashion
Funny
police.
and fabulous is forever. I don't do high kicks, you know, and they need to know. People need to fucking know.
Yep.
This is a, you know, almost 60-year-old man still turning it out.
Yep.
Am I flip-flopping all over the fucking stage?
No.
I have to. I'm funny and I can fucking sing.
Yep.
And I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely love that. And you're mixing and mingling with like this Hulu special. Like you're doing the damn thing.
Mm-hmm. At the top.
Well,
of
I
your game.
just posted about that too. I really wanted to genuinely thank everybody for involving me and involving Sherry Vine and involving, you know, Peaches and Heclena's, it's her final thing that she did. They included not just, you know, the Drag Race young queens and the famous ones. They also have some legends and some people who are iconic trailblazers.
But if you want to do a comedy show, you get comedy people, and clearly, no matter what age, it's that. Jackie, we have so many other questions.
How can I just really do like a few words? Answers. No, it'll be like a moose boosh.
So opening for Roseanne, we know when celebrities go rogue.
Shit.
Obviously, opening for Roseanne is a huge credit because she's funny. No matter what you think of her politics or her craziness, she was funny. She changed TV network. She changed sitcom.
She did.
She changed our idea of a fat person could be a leader of a show. She did that. So opening for her, what was that like? How do we honor that comedy now without honoring her weirdness?
Well, listen, I don't want to seem condescending or like throw her under the bus or drag-splain anything, but this is mental illness. The woman I know, this is why it's been so hard, is just amazing, and she was beyond liberal. And when we did the New York in Vegas for a 6-week run, she let me open for her, and her manager was like, you know that she could get somebody for $100 a show, right? And she was paying me so well that I put a down payment on a house.
Nice.
And during that 6-week run, it was Passover, and she threw a Seder at the Four Seasons and told me I could invite friends. And she rewrote the entire thing so it included people of color and LGBTQ people. It's not just about the Jews. It's about anyone who has been, you know, marginalized or, you know, persecuted. So that's why it's so difficult, because her brother's gay, her sister's gay. Like, she just embraced everyone and changed my life. And I will always love her. And I really do think that, you know, I think that there's a point where you can go a little crazy because you get so frustrated. And I mean, our country is crazy. And the fact that, you know, there's mass shootings every day, and it's easy to kind of go from liberal hippie into like, there's no gray area. You're not allowed a gray area anymore.
And there used to be a gray area. Now you're in this box, you're this box. You're for us or you're against us.
It's Mother Teresa or Hitler.
Well, Mother Teresa wasn't the best either.
I was going to say, I really need to come up with a better example.
Yeah.
But
She was,
from what I've heard, she makes, you know, Bianca Del Rio look like, you know.
She can sing. Okay. Jackie, you've been interviewed so many times. What is something that you never get asked that you would love to talk about or answer?
Would you like to get busy with my co-host after this?
Yes.
Just kidding. That would be sexual harassment.
Are you kidding though?
I've never been. Oh, you know what, people.
Here we go. Nobody remembers that my name is actually the one on the logo. That's fine. But no.
Co-host.
And she'll be in makeup. Co-ho. Okay.
Accurate.
Oh, you know what? This is not really fair because it's not exactly answering the question. But I have been asked several times and I've never had an answer for it before. And I recently came up with an answer. People are like, if you could have one wish, what would it be? You know, and it's like, what? How much money do you need? I own my own house. I mean, I'm not rich by any means. I'm healthy. I have friends. I have fun. You know, I make money having fun. So anyway, I figured out that the answer to that question is if I could have one wish, it would be that dogs live as long as people.
Oh.
Because there's just nothing
That's
worse.
really sweet.
That's literally, that would be my, if a genie came to me, that would be my one wish, that all dogs live as long as people. Because it's the most important relationship.
It sounds so ridiculous. I'm going through something right now. My mom is sick, and her dog happens to be super sick. This fucking dog has been my pain in the ass from my growing up, from whatever. This dog and I are like this. Swear to God, if anything happens, and the fact that he's so sick.
Oh, no.
But people don't realize that. I love this dog more than humans. Anyway, sorry.
We took a turn.
Yeah.
It really is a different kind of love.
It really is.
It is a perpetual child. It is innocence.
Mm-hmm.
It is, you know. I mean, people are just like, oh my God, look at the face on that dog. It's so human. And I'm like, human is not anything to aspire to. Humans are assholes.
And talk about unconditional love. Your dog will watch you have whatever kind of sex you want. Anyway.
I do have a question that you might have not been asked before, and I think, you know, it's just pertinent for me, but what kind of porn do you watch?
Oh my God, that was one of them.
That's actually one of the questions?
Yeah,
oh,
was,
okay.
yeah.
Cool. Then
We got
there
this
we go.
question a few different ways, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
a few different ways.
Oh my God, how specific are we getting?
Oh, when you log into Pornhub.com or you log into Fleshbot.com, what porn are you searching for?
Are they sponsors? You
No.
son of a bitch. No,
No, they're not
okay.
sponsored. What porn
First
are
of
you watching?
all, I go
Thank
through,
you.
I will be honest with you. I go through, like one day I'll be like, oh, I want some hot white guy.
Mhm.
But generally, I love black men. I love Latinos. I like Middle East. I mean, there's just I love
Nope.
I think at
You're
a
out,
certain
sorry.
age, you
Alexander,
just,
get
like,
ready.
love everything. But I mean, I wish there was a very specific term. You guys, this is so specific, and I'm going to be embarrassed.
No, do it.
Tell
This is
it.
our show.
Come on,
this
this
is
is
the
I
it.
safe
wish there
place.
was a very specific term for two guys blowing one guy. Because
why is that
I
weird?
really love that.
Two guys blowing one
It's
guy.
a threesome.
Yeah, I know, but
the
a
act
threesome
itself.
is so general. Do you know what I mean? Like they have such specific things that you can just type in and you get what you want.
Oh, honey, that's the easiest thing. I thought you were going to do something. I'd be like, oh, we're going to have to
No,
edit.
no,
I'm like,
really.
a dwarf going out of a cannon into your vagina. Like, I thought that's where we're going.
Then tell me what it is, because if it's
No,
double
that's totally
blow-
great.
I'm actually going to Google
Derek's going to
this.
send you.
Yeah.
Oh, number one, Derek also wants to know why you didn't friend him on Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
oh
disappointed.
my God,
Sad.
Derek, you're a little touchy.
No, not touchy.
like
It's just you typed in my name
Okay,
on
okay.
Instagram and everything. It just didn't even hit the
you know
follow
what?
button.
Should we really get down to brass tacks?
No, we
I
have to wrap up.
He's a dog, Derek. You want to know why?
I would love
I
to
didn't do
know.
my fucking eyes. No, I'll do it right now.
No, I'm totally just giving you shit. I
Say,
just wanted
after the double blow, like if you put in double blowjob, a lot of times
Okay,
it's
now.
like a sword fight.
I guess this show won't be carried on network TV on the East
Sword
Coast
fight
anymore.
is nothing for me. I like two guys like fighting over it.
Okay,
yeah.
so okay, he's gonna send you all this stuff. But Jackie, I want to know how much have you changed from that first performance at Rage to today? When we're looking at, you have the accolades, you know that you're doing the damn thing, but that crazy moment going out as a beatnik, shouting out your name in an environment that might not be welcoming. How have you personally changed the most?
Well, it was a completely different time, and we were all very punk rock, and we were all very, we were in ACT UP, and we were not shy. So I wish I could take credit. I mean, I can't take credit for being relatively fearless, and I'm shameless, and so I feel like the only thing that's changed is now I don't want to inflict this on somebody who didn't sign up for this. I hate it when it's like, oh, go over there and embarrass that person. And it's like, why would that be embarrassing if I talked to your husband? It's like, I am gorgeous and I'm a fucking amazing performer. Go fuck yourself, lady. So I really do, like I said, I quickly learned that not everybody's as talented as I am. And you know what?
And that's not even a brag, by the way. That is not a brag.
Because listen, I'm not the most famous drag queen, and I'm not the most successful. And I've said this before, and it sounds like I'm being a bitch, but RuPaul is the McDonald's of drag.
Mm-hmm.
And I love McDonald's. When you're craving McDonald's, that's what you want, but it's not necessarily the best. It's just the most famous and the most available, and I love what she's done for drag. I hate some of the things that show and its popularity has done for drag, but I do have a lot more self-confidence, and I know what I can do, and I know that not everybody can do it, and there's no one like me, and I put on the kind of drag show that I would want to see. I always say, if you are blind, then you get to hear the funny comedy and my great singing voice. If you are deaf, you get to look at my, I can rock a look. And if you're blessed with both, sight and hearing, then you've hit the jackpot. Or should I say Jackie pot?
And it's okay to say, I don't like Drag Race. It's okay to say, I'm not a fan of RuPaul.
Right.
We know RuPaul in the 90s and, was a different person.
It really is very similar to my take on Madonna. I am never going to diminish what Ru has achieved and, literally changed the world. But, I watch the show and sometimes I am truly entertained. But a lot of times I'm really not, and I can't believe the people that they've chosen. But, there's a lot to it that I am not savvy to. It's not about, always the best. Sometimes it is, like Sugar and Spice on this last season. They're huge on social media. They're huge on TikTok, and they're very young. Here's one of the problems. There's a certain kind of person who became a drag queen back in the day. You knew every line to every campy movie. Within the gay community, you were even more of a misfit than anybody else. You had a certain aesthetic. You had a certain acerbic wit, just a certain intelligence, like a love for women, a love for music, a love for pop culture. Yep. That's the kind of person who within the gay community took it even further and became a drag queen. And now 14-year-old girls watch this show, so you have to be attractive out of drag. Like, oh my God, he's so cute. And it's like, he's not going to fuck you. And like his drag is, of course, the problem is like obviously anybody can do drag now because they did Celebrity Drag Race. And, as long as there's somebody to do the wig and the outfit and the choreography and write the material and do their makeup, you're just proving that it's really not that special.
Mm.
Stop putting everybody in drag.
There's one thing I just kind of wanted to say is that more to the point of like so the winner of this season, Sasha Colby, she's a great drag queen. She can whip out a performance. She looks great, but she calls herself she's your favorite drag queen's favorite drag queen. And I just want to say, when I was watching a lot of the earlier Drag Race, that was not necessarily true, because there were a lot of drag queens that mentioned you as one of their favorites and one of their inspirations. And so it kind of goes to what you were saying, that like, back in the day, this is what it was. This is what it took. This is you had all of these qualities that made you a great drag queen. And it's actually like more so the earlier part of Drag Race, but they mentioned you as, they were like, Jackie Beat is one of the originals of like, this is what created this community. This is what created this.
Well, there's been a certain shift, and one of the things is like queens that are on Drag Race, the first, let's say 8 seasons, watched YouTube and went to live shows and went to gay bars.
Yeah.
And then there was a shift where it was like, oh, I can do drag and be on this TV show and become famous. Like, as opposed to just, I'm a drag queen and I'm going to go on this show. Now it's, I'm going to go on this show and be a drag queen. I mean,
there's a lack of passion. I'll be honest. I'll be honest. I'm new to the Drag Race. Last 5 seasons, because I have to write about it.
So what you're saying is you need to have me as a permanent co-host so I can keep you on the drag.
But here's the thing. It's like, I'll go to Mickey's and they'll be like, oh, here's the top 3. And then they show up on stage and they do this. God forbid somebody gives them a mic. They do this.
Well, you know what's
That's
going
what's cardio
on?
done all week, by the way, just so nobody
No,
explains.
let me explain to you. That's the world we live in now. Nobody
That's what I'm
wants...
saying. It's not
If
talent.
if you listen to 80s music and Mark Almond's voice, people sang with a certain, like, they gave 110%. There was literally, it was kind of campy. Like, who's the guy with the eye patch? Oh my God, Dead or Alive? Pete Burns. Like, these voices were like this, and it was like, we're not afraid. You don't know if I'm gay or straight, and I'm giving 110%. Now it's Billie Eilish, like mumble, mumble, mumble. And that bleeds over into other art forms. And now it's like, I'm too cool for school, and I got to pretend like I don't care. Honey, I don't do this. People are like, can I take your picture? I'm like, I'm offended if you don't take my picture. This took 2 fucking hours. Take 17 pictures.
But here's also the thing that's happening is that somebody comes off of Drag Race and then they get their first music video and it's all auto-tune. It's all, it's like, that's not your talent. Okay, we have to wrap up. Jackie Beat, will you do Jackie 2.0 with us?
Of course.
I literally have pages of questions that went unanswered.
Well, of course.
About you.
Just to say, Derek is right, because I know this sounds egotistical, but there was a time when I was doing live shows and Bianca was like, oh, Jackie Beat's one of my favorites. Bob the drag queen came to a show of mine with a 7-foot printout of a picture of me to autograph and said, you are my all-time favorite. Like, there was a certain point.
You're talking about the smartest queens in the business.
Alaska
But I'm
mentioned
just saying,
it.
and then, Alaska, and then
Not a fan of
things
Alaska.
changed because of TikTok and social media.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't about the queens who were on YouTube and paving the way and
So that's not drag.
Well, I mean, we do have to be flexible and let the art form evolve, but I
haven't touched my toes in 10 years. I'm not going to be flexible. A drag queen used to be that you were talented, you can, do makeup and have a personality.
I could probably make you touch your toes, Alex. It's fine.
Alexander.
Well, listen, I
Alexander.
think Derek might agree. It's almost like
Okay, we have to.
I think that anybody should be allowed to be a performer or be a porn star or whatever, but there are real porn stars.
Yes.
Maybe you're,
that's a
porn actor, or you're
That's
just
the
trying
next
to,
episode.
Porn participant,
Yes.
No,
But
because
I'm
people are
just
saying that if you're on OnlyFans and you're famous on OnlyFans, that you're not a porn star. But
correct.
I mean, God, nobody wants to be normal anymore. I mean, somebody needs to bring me my salad with low-cal Italian dressing on the side and my unsweetened iced tea, for Christ's sake.
I'll be honest. If I go home with you and you wake up and you order Panda Express at 11 a.m., I'm yours. No, don't don't even
It
pretend.
depends on what you order.
Okay, we have to end the show. Jackie, will you come back on the show for the second part?
Of
And
course
we're gonna
I-
buy this makeup. It's a Mother's Day gift. Where do we buy this makeup?
MissJackieBeat.com, because it's
You guys,
important.
I'm literally gonna go and
you're
order this.
single.
Okay,
What?
and where can we find and follow you?
Oh, I'm at Jackie Beat on just about everything.
Mm,
Is that what you asked?
yes.
And your message to your fans: we're going into Pride season.
Buy shit. Buy my
God.
stuff. I'm sick of hearing I love you. I want to hear that ka-ching noise that Venmo makes when people send me money.
I'm your customer. I don't wear makeup. I'm gonna go buy every palette that you have just for that.
It's a great gift.
It's a collector's item for your 90th anniversary that's coming up. It's a 60th. What? No, 60. I'm making a bad joke. God, I
Maybe
can't compete.
comedy ain't your thing, honey.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. Oh my God, that really wounded you.
No, it did actually. Anyway,
You're very funny.
Jackie, we love you so much. Got so
Thank
many
you.
questions from you. Thank you for being candid because you shared some stuff from your life that you haven't before, and I really appreciate that.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
Anytime. Derek, where can we find and follow you?
Pretty much at Derek Kage XXX on just about everything, or DerekKage.com.
All right, guys. It's always a grab bag of fun
Follow
every
the
year
voice.
on The Rocks. Big thank you to our engineer and owner, Tony Sweet. You want to have a podcast? You email Tony Sweet at tsweet@ubn.com. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay sexy. Most importantly, stay tipsy. You never know who's going to show up on The Rocks. See you next week.
This has been another episode of On the Rocks. Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On the Rocks On Air. Find everything On the Rocks for free at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay